Hi guys, this is Trisha Shortino, the CEO of Belay.
And I'm Krisha Bueller, VP of HR at Belay.
So Krisha and I are here today to talk to you about working from home, remote work, and not just working from home, but are you working from home with your kids home? We all know the state of the world today has put a lot of us in a predicament or a situation where we are in a space we've never been in before, right? We are working from home, kids are out from school, and we are trying to figure out what is a new normal. And at Belay, we've done this work from home thing for quite some time. So Krisha and I just want to spend some time with you and give you some great resources, tips, and advice on how you can do so successfully.
Yeah, for sure. And not only are the kids at home, your spouse or your partner is at home as well. And so now you guys are trying to figure out not only how do we work from home in the same space, but keep the kids occupied as well and keep things as normal as necessary. I think one of the things to throw out there that's pretty obvious, but it's a good reminder for us all is as adults, we're feeling confusion and frustration and how are we going to make this work? So are our kids, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
missing out on school, teachers, friends, extracurriculars. And so now more than ever is the time to give grace and have patience. I'm talking to myself a little bit too right now. Have lots of
What is patience?
but we'll get through this together. So yes, we are going to dive right in and start talking about some things that hopefully can help you during this season.
Yeah, so first and foremost, if you find yourself in this type of circumstance, the first thing we want to talk about is the communication of this. There's a few different layers or levels of communication. Communication to your employer or your boss about your current situation, family communication between you and your spouse, and the communication between you and your kids. So Krisha, I know you have some great tips and things actually you've done with at your home to start your communication. Would you like to share some?
Sure, absolutely. So as Trisha said, over communicate. So most everybody is in this situation. You are not alone. So while you are feeling like, how am I going to make this work? Likely your leader is too, and your coworkers. So the first thing you can do is just have a very open and transparent conversation with your leader. If there is a meeting time that just is not going to work for you in this season, let him or her know. Chances are it's going to be just fine. For example, yesterday when we were scheduling the time to even do this webinar, Trisha said, hey, does this time work for you? It's just a simple courtesy just to make sure. The other thing is my husband, he is business as usual right now, which means he still leaves and goes to the office. And what we did on Sunday was really look at the week ahead. And I said, you know what, there are a couple days I'm really meeting heavy for extended periods of time. Can you just see if you can work from home one or two of those days to help out? That way, he is feeling like he's helping out. I'm not feeling like I'm leaving my 10-year-old for 4 hours at a time unsupervised. So what I would say is just recommend that take some time. Maybe it's on the weekend or whatnot. If you guys are both working from home, maybe overlay your schedules and see where those gaps are. And if you can just tag team, rearrange some meetings so that the kids aren't unsupervised for an extended period of time.
Yeah, so great advice if you have the opportunity. There's also potentially opportunities for some of you out there to use other resources. If your spouse does not work from home and it's really just you, we're going to get through here in a minute. We're going to just really rattle off some great ideas and resources for you. But before we get there, and as we're talking about using people resources, you might have a neighbor or a nearby family member that you can leverage as well to help with some time with your children also. But if those aren't options and really it's you and the kids, we do want to talk a little bit about some great ideas, tips, and tools you can kind of implement at home to help keep them busy so that you can have the dedicated blocks of time you will need to work successfully with them being home. So we have a ton of these tips and resources. So we really just want to get you the goods. So we are really just going to start blasting through the ideas. And if you have any questions about any of the ideas we talk about today, please feel free to reach out to us at Belay. We're happy to kind of deep dive into any of those, but we'll just hit the ground running on sharing some of the great ideas. So Krisha, I'll let you kick off and start talking about some of the great things that I know you've already implemented in your home.
Yes. So I have a 10-year-old, and that's great because she can be pretty self-sufficient, but she's still 10, so I can't just leave her be, like, maybe some of you that have some teenagers or so on and so forth. Before we get into that, I do just want to say, if you happen to be a leader that is listening to this, give grace, right? Give grace. I mean, we're finding ourselves in a time where people really are trying their very, very best, and they're worried about the distractions. They're worried about, their productivity levels. They're worried about what you're thinking of them, and they're trying really hard to do their best. So it's your job as a leader in this situation to give grace and be understanding and compassionate and tweak your schedule as well to accommodate the needs of your team. That's what we're doing here at Belay, and it's working. It's working.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes there will be some days where it is bring your children to work day, and that means they're sitting on the Zoom with you, and that's okay for as long as you've communicated those things to your leader.
Yeah. And for those of you that are in our situation, Trisha and I, we are parents, right? Just like you, overnight, we went from CEO and VP to homeschool teachers.
Homeschool mom. I always said I would never be a homeschool mom.
That's right. We said day 1 yesterday was success. Let's see, day 14 or 21.
We're 24 hours in. We're gonna be all right.
Right. That is right. Okay, so on to those tips. So if you're thinking about, how do I even find the time? I've got a really little one or toddler or whatever. Trisha already mentioned, but leverage the nap time, right? I mean, take full advantage of when they nap, and maybe those are the times that you schedule your video calls or your really thoughtful, intentional work time that you need distraction free. Trisha mentioned calling on a neighbor or a friend. One thing that I do is, unfortunately, I set my alarm earlier than usual these days, and I get up ahead of time and I crank through my email, my tasks that, are not going to require FaceTime or conversation with other people. And then the other thing is, there's time in the evenings. And while we all want to be together with our family, we've got a lot of that time right now, a lot of togetherness. And so maybe when everyone's watching TV or whatnot, you just bring your laptop to the couch and wrap up those last minute things. The kids will not mind. They'll be together with you, and it won't feel so, oh, you're in your office working. And I know, Trisha, you have some tips as well on working with your kids.
Yeah, so one of the things I do regularly during normal school year is in the afternoons, bring my laptop kind of out of my office and sit at the kitchen table or the bar in the kitchen with the kids while they're doing their homework. And even though everybody's individually kind of heads down doing their own work, and we might not be having in-depth conversation, we're all kind of sitting together and doing our work together. So you feel like you're a semi-present parent because we're all together working. And that, even that little thing, we could have a shared snack together, put out some chips or veggies, and we all sit together and everybody's individually doing our work. And it seems like the smallest little thing, but for the kids, it's a big thing. It's not you in a separate room for that extra hour or two. So I typically block 2 hours at the end of my day where that is my plan. Even regular schedule, and certainly at this time, where I'm spending that time with them. And that's where I kind of devote my task time and work time when I'm not needing to be on a call or a meeting. And I think you can kind of emulate those things throughout your day and say, okay, these certain blocks of time, I'm going to go sit with my kids and they're going to do quiet work as well. Now, if they don't have homework to do, they might be doing a craft or doing a puzzle, or maybe you're allowing them to have screen time, or maybe it's movie time that you've let them. But if it's something that they can do semi-unsupervised, then you can use that time to at least physically be in the same space with them and do your work.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes they think it's cool to work with mom, depending on
Yeah.
the age.
Yeah.
Callie's like, oh, we're going to work together,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes. Yes.
So what you mentioned though was, during those times where we don't have meetings, but let's talk about the times where we do have meetings, and we
Let's.
need that distraction-free time
Mhm.
for our job. I know that you've mentioned before using earbuds. Um,
Mhm.
they are really noise canceling. They tune out a lot of background noise, as well as there's an application called Crisp that you can use that cancels out background noise that a lot of our team has had
That
great.
is the biggest rage right now, using the
Yes,
Crisp app. Yes.
yes,
Yes. And even being mindful of your surroundings, like where you normally work, you might not work there any longer. So if you're finding that the you're sitting in a space normally where you can see the kitchen behind you and the kids are back there and that's a distraction on video, you might kind of temporarily rearrange your office or turn your desk in a different direction, or decide you're going to go work in a dining room or another room that's kind of further away in the home so you can have more quiet time, and it's less away from your central home where maybe your family and kids are, and it might be a distraction to you. So you can even look at what does your office space look like. You might want to pick a temporary office space and then being mindful of turning potentially your desk so that this is distraction free behind you as well.
Yeah, that's a great tip. One of the things that we're currently doing is I do have doors that close, but if you don't, maybe you put up a little sign, that
Mhm.
says, "Ah," and your kids know, unless it's an emergency, please do not come in because I'm in an important meeting and I'll be done, very quickly. Or let them know ahead of time. My meeting goes until this time, right? This is when
Yes.
I'll be done, so that they
That's
know.
what I do. Yeah, I do the same thing. Even with my grown kids, I have teenagers and I will tell them, hey, I have a meeting from 1 to 3. I'm going to be in my office from 1 to 3. If you need anything, ask me at 3:01.
Yes, yes,
Right. So they're old enough that they understand they can give me that space. But even for younger kids, for you to
yeah.
be able to say, I'm going to be in this meeting for an hour. Here's a game. Here's a puzzle. Here's watch this cartoon, whatever
Mhm.
the thing is, you're going to have quiet time, go outside and play for an hour, whatever that is for them.
Right.
I think letting them know what that window is for you, you'd be amazed. In the beginning, when I first started working remote, my kids were little,
Mhm.
and it's amazing how kids absorb and learn by
Yes.
repeatedly practicing, like, do not disturb me, I'm in a meeting from here to here, do not disturb me, I'm in a meeting. Over
Mhm.
time, even very young, they totally got it. They would know eventually, even in elementary school, oh, mom's in a meeting, we can't bother
Yes.
her. So they can be
Totally.
trained.
Totally agree. I do,
Yeah.
and that goes into some of the things that we'll talk about a little bit later. Is don't underestimate the kids, guys. They are
Yes.
far more capable than we give them credit for sometimes. So a
Let's talk
couple.
about the kids. So yeah, let's talk about the things the kids do. One of the things I love that Krisha did, and she shared with us at Belay, I guess it was yesterday, is you created a schedule
I did.
for your daughter. So, first and foremost, you're going to tweak the schedule you have for yourself. You're going to say, okay, I need to modify my current schedule because I need to fit this new normal in. And that
Mhm.
might be working with your leader to say, okay, I need to shift these meetings because I'm going to do them during nap time, or I'm going to
Yep.
shift them based on when I have support from a spouse. And you're going to rearrange your schedule. Then, once you've had that defined, now let's talk about your kids' schedule. What
Mhm.
does that look like? For me, it's different because I have older kids. So they won't even wake up till noon. But then what am I doing from noon on for them and helping schedule out chores and stuff? But you did a great job, Christian. I'd love for you to share some of the ideas you had, is that you created basically a schedule for your daughter of what her day is going to look like.
Yes.
And in that, A, it keeps her busy and occupied. B, it gives you a sense of relief that you can get the things done that you want to do. And you've actually got some things done around the house while you were at
I
it.
did. I did. I even sent my peers a picture yesterday of my daughter vacuuming my baseboard.
Love it.
I said, I am already winning at this homeschool mom thing. But no, again, that was day one. So as Trisha said, I think the biggest win was we created it together. So
Oh,
she
that's a
was
good tip.
bought
Mm.
in. So
Mm.
Sunday afternoon, the weekend winding down and reality set in, and it's like, okay, this cannot be a free-for-all. Most of our kids, whether they admit it or not, like routine and like a schedule. And so we did just that. We sat down and we said, okay, what does your new school day look like? And we left it very flexible. We left it kind of out in the open for us to change depending on my schedule and hers. And so just a quick example, what I tried to do was keep it as close as possible to her normal school day. My daughter's school does this really cool thing every morning that they call it mindful musical moments. And it's like a 5-minute just focus, regroup before they start the day. She really liked that. And so they had sent home a link. And so now we do that together, right? We take 5-10 minutes in the morning. We do that together. We start our day. One of the other things that she's doing is she's keeping a journal of this season that we're all in. And not only does it allow her to kind of express her emotions, but it keeps her typing, it keeps her writing, creative, all of that. We put in there digital learning time, creative specials time, right? Where she might do something with music or art, like a craft. We've got our lunch time, we've got reading, we've got her going out to play, all those things. And then we have the infamous chore list, right? I mean, that goes to what we were talking earlier. Don't underestimate them. They actually will help out around the house. And if you
have a couple of employees that work here currently that have 2-year-olds who do some serious chores around the house. It's quite impressive, actually.
It is. And Pinterest, don't try to recreate the wheel. Pinterest has tons of, applicable chores per age. Just leverage that. If you need to put a reward system in place, do it. Most schools do anyways, to reward good behavior and things of that nature. So try to keep their day pretty streamlined, and because again, like we said, their world has just been turned upside down as well. So any sense of normalcy will be very, very helpful.
Okay, good. So we talked already about, just communication strategies and tips, talking to your leader, and then just as leaders, extending tons of extra grace at this time and being flexible in our schedules to accommodate our teams. We've talked about employees, going to your leaders and really saying, hey, these are my challenges. Can we talk through what a new schedule can look like for me? Then when you've got past that, we talked about a little bit about, then how does that apply to your kids, right? How are some ways maybe you can leverage neighbors and people to help you? And if that's not something that you can lean into, just some ideas on really creating a great schedule for your children so they feel some sense of normalcy. And Krisha gave some great tips on what are some things you can put in those schedules, like digital learning time. You might allow them some screen time, lunch time, chore time, arts and crafts time, music time, journaling time. These are all things you can build into the day of your youngster.
And let's be real. Now is not the time to worry about some additional screen time, right? Like Disney Plus for the win. Netflix, okay. We're
plugging for Chris. We're plugging for screen time, right?
It just is.
It's all temporary, guys, right? So you may have to, you may just implement some things right now that you might not in your normal day-to-day life, but it is a do what you need to do to make it through kind of scenario, right? There will be things that you might have said, I would never normally do this, but we're being flexible. Part of it is just really being flexible and being creative on how to make, there's so much for these kids to do, so much that they could do.
Yeah. Definitely.
So any last minute resources, Krisha, I know there's some great websites you mentioned, Pinterest for chores per age, any other just quick resources we can get out there to these guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to run through a short list, and if we can link these, we certainly will. But there are some really good things. Again, don't reinvent the wheel. There are so many resources, Pinterest, Facebook, just lean into those. There's a really great Facebook group that is new. It's called Parents and Kids Coronavirus Support. They have daily activities per age groups. They've got tons and tons of resources and ideas. Lean into that. Go Noodle Go Noodle is a great
Mhm.
program for school age kids. It encourages movement and activities. It's done on like a point reward system. So that's a really good one. So I'm in Ohio, and our beloved Cincinnati Zoo is streaming live daily at, I think it's 3. It
I've
doesn't.
noticed a lot of museums
Yes,
and zoos are doing live streaming. Those are
exactly.
great resources. Yes.
Daily things where they'll read
Mhm.
or they'll have videos and interactive activities for your kids. Those that have little ones, some of the ones that were given to us were Raising Wonder, Busy Toddler, Other Goose, and then YouTube has a Lunch Doodles channel where
Awesome.
they can
Great.
teach the
Hmm.
kids how to draw. So again, we'll try to link those, but
Hmm.
those are some really good resources just to keep your kids busy during this time of uncertainty. I think overall, give them grace, give yourself grace. We are all going through this. We'll get through it together.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And when all else fails, it's time to bust out a puzzle.
that's
Okay.
right.
So
That's right.
bust out a puzzle, cook a meal together, give yourself breaks all throughout the day. Try not to be locked down for long pieces, try and do 45 minutes to an hour at a time, check on the kids back and forth, back and forth. It'll be you're going to make it. These are some awesome resources. We hope that this, if anything, encourages you to know that there are people out here who are making this happen in the day in and day out. We are here to help provide the great resources for you. There's a ton out there. You can do this. We know you can do this. Reach out to us if we can help with any other resources or support. We are here to support you all in this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck. Good luck, moms and dads. You have
You
got
got this. We all had kids for a reason. Enjoy them. Bye for now.
Bye.